The snowstorm howled like a wounded animal, wrapping the mountains in an impenetrable veil of white. Emma Clark gripped the steering wheel, her SUV's tires skidding against the icy road. The headlights barely cut through the swirling snowflakes. She should have turned back an hour ago, but she had spent the afternoon tracking a herd of wild elk, hoping to capture a perfect shot for her latest nature photography project. Now, the storm had rolled in faster than she expected, leaving her struggling to find her way back to the main road. A shadow in the snow caught her eye, a dark lump off to the side of the road, half buried beneath the growing drifts. At first, she thought it was a fallen branch, but something about it made her stomach tighten. She slowed the car and squinted. A dog. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The animal lay motionless, its thick coat stiff with ice, its body unnaturally still. But as she stepped out of the SUV and kneeled beside it, she pressed a hand against its side. A faint rise and fall. It was still alive. "Hey, buddy," she murmured, ignoring the bitter cold seeping into her skin. "You're gonna be okay." The dog's eyes flickered open, a stunning shade of amber. He let out the weakest of whimpers before his head slumped against the snow again. Emma's pulse pounded as she gathered his frozen body in her arms. He was large, likely a German Shepherd mix, but he was dangerously underweight, his ribs visible beneath matted fur. Someone had abandoned him, left him to die, not on her watch. She struggled to hoist him into the back seat, then cranked the heat as high as it would go. Her heart clenched as she glanced at him in the mirror. "Hang in there," she whispered. "I won't let you go." With a sense of urgency pushing her forward, she sped toward the nearest vet clinic, and all the while one question gnawed at her mind. "Who left you out here?" The fluorescent lights of Timber Ridge Veterinary Clinic cast a sterile glow over the examination table. Matthew Harrison, the town's best and only veterinarian, ran his hands carefully over the dog's body, checking for fractures or frostbite. "He's lucky you found him," Harrison said, adjusting his glasses. "Severe hypothermia, malnourished, but with some care he'll recover." Emma exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Relief washed over her. "Does he have a microchip?" she asked. "Maybe he has an owner." Harrison grabbed a scanner and ran it over the dog's scruffy fur. A sharp beep filled the quiet room. The vet glanced at his computer screen, then frowned. "This doesn't make sense." Emma leaned forward. "What is it?" Harrison hesitated before reading aloud. "The system says this dog, his name was Shadow, belonged to a man named Luke Daniels." Emma furrowed her brows. "So, he does have an owner?" Harrison's lips pressed into a thin line. "That's the thing. According to these records, Luke Daniels died a year ago." Emma's stomach twisted. "Wait, what?" "The report says Daniels was in a fatal car crash, and his dog was declared dead alongside him." A shiver ran down Emma's spine. She looked at Shadow, now resting on the table, his breath slow but steady. He was supposed to be dead. So how had he ended up alone in a blizzard? And who had tried to erase him? That night, Emma took Shadow home to her secluded cabin, nestled deep in the woods. Despite his exhaustion, he stirred in his sleep, his paws twitching as if chasing something in a dream. Outside, the wind rattled the window panes. Emma wrapped herself in a blanket, watching the fire crackle in the hearth. Then a noise, a soft scratching at the door. Shadow's ears flicked. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Emma's pulse spiked, heart pounding. She grabbed her flashlight and crept toward the window. The snowstorm had eased slightly, revealing dark outlines of trees. And there, at the edge of the woods, a figure stood watching. Her breath hitched, but before she could react, the figure melted into the darkness. She locked the door and pressed her back against it, her heart racing. Someone knew she had Shadow, and they didn't want her to keep him. Determined to uncover the truth, Emma spent the next morning digging into Luke Daniels' past. She drove to the Timber Ridge Library, combing through old newspaper archives. According to the reports, Luke Daniels had died in a single-car accident. No witnesses, no signs of braking. The wreckage was discovered at the bottom of Blackwood Ravine. And Shadow? The report claimed he had been in the vehicle, but he wasn't. Someone had lied. Emma's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Silence. Then a low, rasping voice. "Walk away. Stop asking questions, or you'll end up like Luke." A click. The line went dead. Emma's stomach twisted into knots. Someone didn't want the truth to come out. That night, Shadow seemed restless. He limped toward the door, sniffing the air. Then a sound outside. Footsteps. Emma's blood ran cold. She grabbed her flashlight, flung open the door. A dark figure sprinted into the woods. Without thinking, Emma chased after them, her boots crunching against the snow. The figure was fast, weaving between the trees. Then the ground gave way beneath her. She crashed into a deep ditch, landing hard. Snow shifted around her. Beneath her hands, something solid. Metal. She brushed away the frost, her breath hitching. The car, rusted, mangled. A skeleton sat in the driver's seat, and beside it, tattered dog fur tangled in a seatbelt. Emma's hands shook. Luke Daniels' real crash site. He hadn't lost control of his car. Someone had pushed him off the road and covered it up, and they had assumed Shadow died with him. They were wrong, and now they wanted to fix their mistake. A noise behind her, footsteps. Emma spun around. A man stood at the edge of the ditch, tall, dressed in dark winter gear, his face obscured by a scarf. "You should have left it alone." He pulled a gun. Shadow lunged. Despite his weakness, instinct took over. The German shepherd sank his teeth into the man's arm. The gun fired, missing Emma by inches. Emma grabbed a rock and swung. The man collapsed. Breathing hard, she grabbed Shadow and stumbled back to her cabin. She needed to call the police. Now, the police uncovered the truth. Luke Daniels had stumbled upon something. Illegal money laundering, stolen funds. Something dangerous. Someone had killed him and faked Shadow's death. But Shadow had survived. A year later, he had led Emma to the truth. As the police took the man away, Emma knelt beside Shadow, running a hand through his fur. "You saved my life, buddy." Shadow's tail wagged. He had been left for dead, but now he had found a new home with her.